Mangwana ni mwalele pofu kenjani class Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Diana Master. How was your weekend, Diana?
My weekend was great, but going into this week, I'm even more amazed.
Even more amazed by the energy?
I'm happy, I'm excited.
All right. Is it just because of today or because NTV turns 1 in 9 days?
Exactly. It's because we're inching closer and closer to NTV's birth week.
Absolutely. And you can celebrate with us. All you have to do is scan the QR code in the Algamana Titan, Republican or Namibian Sun. Answer the question that is there, and you stand a chance to win a DSTV Explorer, a dish kit, or a GoTV decoder, or a 3,000 Namibian dollar for Shini Group shopping vouchers. Entries end on the 6th of February, so by all means, celebrate with us.
Now let's get into what you can expect in today's broadcast. DR Congo women flogged for wearing short skirts. Afghan female students not allowed to sit for university entrance exam, and this is according to the Taliban ministry. And finally, President Joao Lourenço inaugurates Angola's satellite control center. We'll also be speaking to Talent Gore in Harare, Zimbabwe, to give us the latest news on the ground.
Heading straight into the first of our top stories, DR Congo women have been flogged for wearing short skirts. Women and girls have been flogged by militiamen in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo for wearing short skirts or trousers, the government said on Saturday, vowing to punish the perpetrators. Prime Minister Jean-Michel Sama Lukonde condemned the degrading and inhuman abuses by the militiamen from the armed Malaika group, according to a readout of a cabinet meeting published on Saturday. Lukonde says the militia, who are imposing Islamic Sharia punishments in the area under their control, had recently flogged girls and women dressed in short skirts and trousers. A government delegation would be dispatched to the area Salambila in the eastern province of Maniema and report back so the perpetrators could be punished, Lukonde said. The Malaika militia, which claims to represent the interests of local people, wants the government to hand over a bigger share of revenue from the Salambila gold mines.
Now, getting into our next story, Afghan female students not allowed to sit for university entrance exam, and this is according to the Taliban ministry. The Taliban-run Ministry of Higher Education ordered private universities in Afghanistan not to allow female students to sit university entrance exams next month, underscoring its policy to restrict women from tertiary education. A letter from the ministry was addressed to institutions in Afghanistan's northern provinces, including Kabul, where exams are due to take place from the end of February. The letter said those institutions that did not observe the rules would face legal action. The Higher Education Ministry in December told universities not to allow female students until further notice. Days later, the administration stopped most female NGO workers from working. Most girls' high schools have also been closed by authorities. The restrictions on women's work and education have drawn condemnation internationally. Western diplomats have signaled the Taliban would need to change course on its policies towards women to have a chance of formal international recognition and an easing of its economic isolation. The country is in the midst of an economic crisis, partly due to sanctions affecting its banking sector and a cut in development funding, with aid agencies warning tens of millions are in need of urgent aid. However, a World Bank report this week also said the Taliban administration, which has said it focused on more economic self-sufficiency, had kept revenue collection strong last year and exports had lifted.
Now, Kenya will formally lodge a complaint with the Netherlands after Dutch airline KLM announced the cancellation of flights, citing fears of civil unrest in Kenya and Tanzania. Though the reference to Kenya was later removed from the airline's website, Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen said Kenya, which had since reached out to KLM's country representatives, would still demand an audience with the Netherlands for what he said was unfounded, false, insensitive and misleading information. I have officially registered my protest with the airline against this unfounded cause, said Mr. Murkomen in a statement. On Friday night, KLM on its social media pages and official website listed Kenya and Tanzania as countries experiencing civil unrest, and that the airline will suspend its flights to the two countries on Monday. The post was later edited, removing any reference to Kenya or Nairobi, but retaining the bit about Tanzania, which has also not reported any cases of civil unrest or fears of any such occurrences. An airline has no business running ahead of even their governments, who have not issued such alarming warnings, said Pullman Tours and Safaris Director Mohammed Hersi.
Moving over to Angola, President Joao Lourenço inaugurates Angola's satellite control center. Angolan President Joao Lourenço on Friday inaugurated the country's first satellite control center. Its main task is to monitor the activity of the satellite ANGOSAT-2. The inauguration took place at Funda area within Luanda, the capital city of Angola, and fully equipped with technical and technological means. With the launch of this satellite and its commissioning, Angola will win in all services, so we will improve our telecommunications and our social communication and will also benefit from this important project, said President Joao. According to what was revealed, the Satellite Mission and Control Center is an intelligent infrastructure with multiple engineering advantages, capable of guaranteeing the tracking, monitoring and operation of satellites. In this case, the ANGOSAT-2 in December 2017, Angola launched its trial satellite ANGOSAT-1 alongside the Russian rocket, but Moscow announced it had lost control of it as soon as it entered orbit.
Now, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Thursday, the 26th of January, that the United States and European countries are striving to restore African countries' colonial dependence, in the process demanding that African countries not cooperate with Russia. He was speaking to reporters following his surprise visit to Eritrea. Lavrov said that American and European delegations have regularly demanded that African countries should stop cooperating with Russia. He added that Africa has been exploited for many centuries and the West wants to maintain an exploitative policy towards the continent even today's. Countries are developing economically. Look at China and India, Turkey, Brazil, Argentina, Egypt, and many other countries of the African continent. There, the potential for development, taking into account the colossal reserves of natural resources, is enormous, he also said. According to him, the attempts of the West to maintain its political, economic, financial, military, and ideological dominance led to the growth of conflicts in the world. The US and its satellites are betting on the power factor. They have actually destroyed the architecture of strategic stability that has been created for decades, and they are aggressively expanding the geography of military expansion. Earlier, Lavrov confirmed Russia's commitment to food exports to Africa. He stated that issues of ensuring the food and energy security of Africa are on the current agenda of Moscow.
We close off our top stories in Ethiopia, where only 3% of school leavers in Ethiopia have won good enough grades to go to university, says Education Minister Birhanu Nega, who has called these latest exam results shocking. No exams took place in the war-torn region of Tigray, where the federal government has not provided education for 2 years. There was also controversy over the timing of the final exams for students living in areas which were heavily impacted by the civil war in the north of the country, including in Amara, where 12,000 students reportedly staged a walkout. Cheating and fraud have marred previous exams in Ethiopia, so this time they were held under strict supervision in universities across the country last October. A new procedure will be put in place to get more students into universities with re-examinations in subjects with lower scores, Mr. Birhanu said.
That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Now, since the arrival of Catholic missionaries, there have been many schools set around Southern Africa, particularly convent school. You can find it in just about every Southern African nation. And these schools are known for robust discipline, which is why it is shocking that 8 convent schools in Zimbabwe, convent girls' school, 8 girls from the convent school in Zimbabwe have been expelled for drug use. We'll be back after the break.
AgriMonitor is jou weeklikse landboukundige program wat jou die jongste nuus in die landbouverwante bedryf en onderwerpe wat daaraan gekoppel is bring. Vir enige advertensie of nuusverwante navrae, kontak agrimonitor@synergy.com.na.
Let's cross on over to Zimbabwe to speak to Talent Gore to give us the latest news on the ground, starting off with, of course, the most controversial one: 8 high school children expelled from school due to drug use. Talent, could you please get into this?
Africa, good morning. So apparently 8 high school girls from Dominican convent in Harare have been expelled from school for drug use. Apparently they had a school trip in Nyanga whereby they were caught with drugs in their bags. So the sister in charge of the school said that 8 of these girls were found with drugs in their bags. There was a random search which is done, and they were found with drugs in their bags and they have since been expelled. She said that investigations are still underway, and if the school finds out that there are other students who had drugs that are going to be expelled. Apparently, the drugs in question, the school said that they were vaping. Vape involves the inhalation of nicotine and other substances. So this is the reason why the school has since expelled 8 students. Apparently, Zimbabwe is battling a drug abuse. Government has said that around 51.7 youth in the country are using drugs. So this is quite a sad story in Zimbabwe right now, as people are coming in and they are airing out their views, saying that the students were not using drugs, they were just vaping. But since the school is Catholic, they said that that was not allowed at the school or anyway, even if the students were not on school grounds, that was not allowed, and that is why they have since expelled the 8 students.
Yes, I mean, I do find it interesting that they'll classify vaping as drugs. I mean, vaping happens everywhere. I did see a couple of reports that said that it could have been something more serious, so we'll certainly be looking forward to that update. Talent, the next story, 15 boreholes contaminated with fecal matter closed as typhoid cases continue to rise. Please get into this.
Yes, the council has decommissioned 15 boreholes that were contaminated with fecal matter and are believed to be the source of typhoid cases reported in 3 suburbs. Tests on the water sample taken from 127 boreholes in Glenora, Mbare, Udiriro were found to contain significant traces of E. coli bacteria, indicating the presence of human waste. So uh, Harare City Council has said that they are monitoring 72 suspected typhoid cases, with about 20 others having already been confirmed. This comes as Harare is also grappling with hundreds of cases of diarrhea that have been reported since October last year. So as it stands, the Harare City Council has closed down 15, 15 boreholes, and they are still conducting a test on more boreholes to come to sorry to get to the bottom of this typhoid outbreak that has hit some of the suburbs in Harare.
All right, and finally, 11 firms blacklisted over black market deals and overpricing. What's going on there, Talent?
So since last year, government has been blacklisting companies and contractors. So far, so this year, 6 contractors that were doing business with the government have been blacklisted by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe's Financial Intelligence Unit for trading on the black market, while bank accounts of 5 leading wholesalers have been frozen for manipulating prices of goods and services. The authorities are doubling down on ensuring market discipline. The government released substantial amounts of money to contractors and service providers in December last year after value for money audits that sought to ensure fair pricing. So it is believed that some companies used the funds to mop up the US dollar on the black market, which the government does not allow, and this has led to the closure of 5 firms. This is not the first time that the government has blacklisted contractors and business firms. This actually for this year is the first time, but last year government was doing these routine checks whereby they were checking to see if contractors and businesses were conducting their business according to what the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe wants.
Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news stories from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
Always good to have you on Africa. Good morning. Let's have a look at the weather predictions. Heading into economic news, Ghana and capital market operators agree on domestic debt exchange terms. Ghana's government and the Ghana Securities Industry Association have reached an understanding on the terms of participation by capital market operators in the country's domestic debt exchange program, they said on Friday. Crisis hit Ghana has to restructure its mountain of debt in order to access a relief package from the International Monetary Fund, but a deadline for bondholders to sign up for the DDE program has already been pushed back several times. GSIA believes this agreement is necessary to restore market normalcy and confidence in the economy, the statement said. Ghana needs around 80% of bondholders to sign up for the DDE program.
Getting into our next story, India targets $6 billion trade volume with Tanzania. India is targeting to increase the volume of trade with Tanzania to $6 billion this year by scaling up investment and increasing duty-free goods. The Asian country is also in discussions with Tanzania about the possibility of allowing the respective local currencies to be used in purchasing goods in the two countries to stimulate the growth of the bilateral businesses. The trade volume was estimated at $4.58 billion last financial year. The Indian High Commissioner to Tanzania, Mr. Binaya Prathan, said negotiations with local banks are expected to begin this year. Last year was a good year for business engagement. Several investment agreements have already been made, whose implementation will start this year. So we see this year being better because Indians have increased their purchases of products from Tanzania, especially avocado, said Mr. Prathan.
All right, I have to say that I've tasted Tanzanian avocados pristine. Stay with us. We'll head into economic indicators and we'll be back. We'll be back with Ari and the sport. Life is all about priorities, and it's all about how you choose to see it. Is it a loss, or did you just not win? Was it the FA Cup loss, or do you have an opportunity to win the English Premier League? That is my attempt at maintaining my confidence throughout the day. However, Ari is here with the facts, and my confidence may not survive that. Good morning, Ari. Take it away.
Yes, and indeed, Ashwin, it's, I think, all over the globe. There's winners and losers in this. Normally, the FA Cup is a difficult tournament. It's a knockout. It's home and away. And in this case, it was an away game for Arsenal. Currently, the leaders of the English Premier League and the informed team. They played at Manchester City. Manchester City winning 1-0 through to the fifth round of the FA Cup. There's some other high-profile Premier League teams that also played in the fourth round of the FA Cup. Manchester United, they through to the fifth round. Then also Tottenham Hotspur, they beat Preston by 3-0. And then last night it was Brighton that beat Liverpool. A late goal in that game at home by 2-1. The draw of the fifth round will be made today sometime, and those games will start from the 1st of March. The English Premier League continues this weekend. It's lot leaders Arsenal. They have an away game to Everton, and Manchester City, a tough game for them. They have a home game against Tottenham Hotspur. It is still Arsenal leading by 45 points. On to tennis news. It's a big day for Novak Djokovic at the Australian Open. It was the first major of the year. Novak Djokovic winning his 10th title. There he is celebrating with the trophy. Emotional win for him. Of course, last year it was emotional. He couldn't play. He was sent out of the country because of COVID-19 regulations. His 22nd Grand Slam win, equaling now Rafael Nadal on that record, 22 Grand Slam wins. In the women's section, it was Aryna Sabalenka. She's from Belarus. There she is. She beat Elena Rybakina. Elena Rybakina won Wimbledon last year. She's from Kazakhstan, and it was Sabalenka beating her by 4-6, 6-3, and 6-4. On to some rugby news. It was the Australian Sevens that took place. That is, let's first go to the United Rugby Championship. That is the Bulls playing against the Scarlets, and it was the Bulls that lost that one to the Scarlets, 37 points to 28 in the United Rugby Championship, a tough away game for them. Even tougher for the Stormers. They lost to Ulster by a big score, 35 points to 5, not a good result for them away. But the Sharks made South Africa proud again. They beat Edinburgh by 22-19, also an away game, a good result for them. Sevens, it was Australian Sevens, a great day for New Zealand, and New Zealand men and women winning there. That's some of the action from the Sevens. New Zealand beating South Africa 38-0 in the final, big score there, and New Zealand women beating France by 35 points to 0, dominating that tournament failure. That was the Sydney Sevens. Then briefly also golf, it was the Farmers Insurance Open. The Farmers Insurance Open took place in the USA. Max Homa winning that by a score of -13. John Rahm a little bit lower down, -8. That's Dubai, a scenic golf shot there from Rory McIlroy. There was rain in Dubai. Not normally lots of rain in Dubai, but they had to postpone. The fourth round will only be played today. Rory McIlroy leading there by 3 shots in the final round in the Dubai Desert Classic. Then also briefly, cricket, South Africa that did well in beating England in the second ODI in Bloemfontein. Great score that they chased. They needed 343 to win. They scored 347, very high score for 5. 2-0 up South Africa against England. Briefly, people, the USA.
All right, it seems that we lost Ari there, but I have to say it was beautiful to see you cover your eyes as, you know, Ari was giving us that update between Manchester City and Arsenal. And I guess Ashwin is grateful that Ari did not rub salt in the wound. Anyway, we'll be back with the highlights from today's broadcast. That was Ari Hochad giving us the latest in the sports scene.
The My.NA Cars Show provides viewers with the best in-class cars content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest cars-related news, products, and services. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Cars, more than just a ride.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact B7 at synergy.com.na.
You're watching Africa Good Morning. If you're just joining us, let's take a look at the highlights from today's broadcast. DR Congo women flogged for wearing short skirts. Afghan female students not allowed to sit for university entrance exam, and this is according to the Taliban ministry. Kenya to lodge formal complaint after KLM flight suspension over civil unrest claim. Ghana and capital market operators agree on domestic debt exchange terms.
And those have been our stories. And you know, an interesting development in the American sporting world is that the Super Bowl is set. It's going to be the Eagles next to the Kansas City Chiefs. But naturally, like Diana, like myself, all we care about is Rihanna at the halftime show. Thank you for joining Africa Good Morning. Same time, same place. Tomorrow from Diana Master and Ashwin Berry. Swera Jaganak.